Welcome to the Aftershow. I am Max. This is Kat. We have Dr. J, Isa, and hello everyone in the audience. How are we doing?
Hey.
I hope everyone is doing well. So let's get that link over to the peeps in the chat and we'll pin it and we'll be ready to go. Alrighty, we have a debate between Ridvan, Apostate Prophet, and Deen response on Is Islam True? The topic. Not too fond of the framing and someone being just on the defensive, but we'll talk a little bit about that before we dive right into it. Head first, no arms, just like. Make sure to do the social things, like, share, subscribe, send this to a friend, send this to your significant other, go to the corner, yes, the corner of your street and yell, subscribe to Yerba Mate Talks! And that way we can share that up for the channel. All right, who wants to start? I think Isa is itching, but he's eating right now, so he's with his mouth full. So I'm going to hand it over to Dr. J.
Did you want me to talk generally about the debate, or do you want
we
me to
can
start
dive
with openings? Or
yeah, let's do a general review, and then we can dive into this. We give time for people to join and that kind of stuff.
I didn't quite get it. I didn't get it finished, so I had book club tonight. My family, my siblings, and we do book club, and so we discussed a book tonight. So
Cool.
I think I'm almost done with the whole thing. So I got through openings, and they're arguing now. I would say if this were a topic you are really interested in, this is one of the best debates on the subject we've ever had. I thought it was interesting. I thought arguing over the interpretations was fine. It wasn't super caustic thus far, at least anyway. I haven't gotten all the way through, so maybe it takes a turn. But
it gets a little bit spicier towards the end.
Yeah,
but yeah, I agree.
The parts I've been to, it seems to be they're arguing. Obviously, they disagree on whatever they're arguing over interpretations of these psalms and whether they refer to Muhammad and so on and so forth. At least that's what I was listening to here before we started. Anyway, so I thought it was one of the better ones that I thought was worth listening to. So I'll be interested to hear Isa's thoughts because my knowledge on Islam is pretty terrible. So he might have something more intelligent to say, but that was my thoughts.
You ready?
Yeah, I can go.
Let's go.
Oh boy. I'm trying to figure out how to answer this in a polite way. It's weird when you have a debate about Islam, but you don't really engage Islam at all. I heard Ibn Taymiyyah mentioned a billion times. I heard some stuff about Bukhari. Like, I debated this topic, and I actually explained what Islam was. I talked about it. In the opening of Deen Response, he tells us what the Psalms say. And how who is the prophet of Islam? I don't know. Like, you have to give, so my background is I'm a special ed teacher too. You have to do a crash course on Islam. You got to explain what Islam is, how it functions, what it is. You can't assume your audience knows. That's very bad. That's a very bad position on a very complex religion. You got to teach your audience what this tradition is. He didn't do that at all. I had no idea what Islam was. So, I mean, how can I know Islam is true when I don't even know what Islam is? I don't know. That's kind of an epic fail for me. Yeah, I mean, and that was the topic. I felt that the debate really just went all over the place. It didn't really I didn't know what Islam was. I don't know what truth is. When I debated this with MENJ, I first explained what truth was. Then I explained what Islam was. And I did that in like 6 minutes. I explained all of that stuff. He didn't do it at all. I don't know what truth is. I don't know what Islam is. Those are the key points you have to do to defend this argument. He didn't do it. So to me, I'm like, that's a loss. I think AP's position was a lot stronger than Deen's was. AP was like, okay, for me to prove that Islam is false, I have to show that Islam has contradictions. And I think that was a much strong, like that, it's concise. He has a certain argument he's trying to make. saying the Prophet of Islam, you could Sallallahu Islam, exists in the Bible means nothing. I'm sorry, because I don't know who the Prophet of Islam is. I don't know who he is. I don't know why he's important, and I don't know why I should care. This is ridiculous. I don't know how this guy is famous. Like, I really don't get it. Like, what is he like? This is you can't assume anything. Like, you have a great audience, and your point is you're supposed to engage the audience. I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all, and that's a problem. That's a huge problem. I see a lot of these Muslim apologists try to tell us about Christianity. You don't know about Christianity, bro. You don't know about the Psalms. You don't know about Proverbs. You don't know about Book of Revelation. You're not skilled enough to talk about these texts. And then you're going to try to show the synthesis and harmonization with Islamic tradition, where all I heard was some scholars from Islamic tradition. That's what Deen brought up. He brought up al-Bukhari. He brought up Ibn Taymiyyah. He brought up al-Ghazali. That's cool. I don't know who these people are. Why should I care who al-Ghazali is? Why should I care who Ibn Taymiyyah is? Rahimullah, I don't know. Why should I care? Why is it important? It stunk. I'm sorry. Like, from my position, because I've argued this position before, and I took a long time to make a presentation for this, to make a case for this. It was an epic fail for me personally. I was like, this is not working. I don't know why. I don't know why I should care about Islam. I don't know what Islam is, and I'm like, that's literally what I felt at the end of the debate. And then the end of the debate was a hot mess.
It got
it was a hot mess at the end. It was a hot mess at the end. But that was my problem. I'm just like, I need to know what this stuff is, and it wasn't there for me.
All right, thank you so much. Before I say who won, well, you're going to have to kind of watch the show to find out. We used to do that who won question, but we've grown out of it. Exiled Excellence said, AP going on hate speed rant at the end, calling us Muslims terrorists was expected. Don't be surprised if people take inspiration from them to attack us. I understand. The problem is that prescription is there. So you're in a debate. It's just don't take that position. But that takes you down some other rabbit holes like bid'ah and stuff. So it's a complicated position to hold. I get it. But it is there, and we have to talk about it. He could have gone about it with a little bit more tact. But yes, I agree. For me, as someone who doesn't care about any of this, like watching it from the outside, just watching them fight like this, it went, both made some points, both dodged some other points, and both lost some points. So it was interesting to see the conversation flow from one point to the next. So I agree with Dr. J that it was interesting, polite for the most part at the beginning, and then a little bit of dumpster fire at the end that may have crossed some line, I think, probably. But it was good. I liked it. Alrighty, let's do openings. And we'll start again with you, Dr. J. Deen opened first.
I don't. His opening didn't have as much an impression on me. I think his opening just responded to AP. Is that right?
No, he started.
He went first.
He went first.
Yeah, I don't have strong memories of his stuff. So apparently it wasn't that good to me. So that's my comment.
Not memorable is a comment in itself. Yes, perfect. Isa, you talked a little bit about it, but if you want to expand more, please, while I get some water.
Well, Deen responds as someone who engages with the Islamic dilemma. So I this is something I don't understand. If you think the Bible and the Psalms and the New Testament are corrupted, why are you citing them? That makes absolutely no sense. You know, you either believe that they're there, or you could say, well, it's partial corruption. I'm like, well, you don't have a source text to prove any of that. So it's just, these are just, abstract claims. But basically his opening was, he's like, here's, Quranic verses, here's biblical verses. This proves that the Prophet of Islam is true. And then some of the prophecies are true. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. It's nonsense. I don't know what Islam is, and I don't know what truth is. That's your goal. Saying that the Prophet is true does not prove Islam is true. And also, I don't know who the Prophet is. I don't know who the Prophet of Islam is. You have not established who he is. You have not told what his story is. You can do it in a couple minutes. I've done this before. So I've done this debate where I've actually talked about it. You have to explain who he is. You have to explain what Islam is. You have to explain what truth is. And I think that, to me, this is it wasn't working. It was not working for me. And I'm like, you this is necessary. If you're going to defend Islam, we have to know what it is. And just jumping into the deep end, you're exactly what Dr. J, it's not impressionable. You don't remember anything from it. Yeah. We don't know what any argument he made was. He just was like, oh, well, the Prophet of Islam exists in the Bible. Okay, cool, I guess. I don't know who he is, so I don't know why that's important. I don't know why Islam is true. I don't even know what Islam is. So
right. Yes, the framing is always important, and it struck me as odd that he would go down the route of. It's always weird for me when they say Muhammad is in the Bible, because it's always either something like this, completely abstract, that just hinges on an interpretation of some things, or it's the one that we don't like, the Mahmed. No, or what's the no? Mahmed is the other one.
It's Mahmedim.
Mahmedim
from the Song of Solomon. Yeah.
Yes, from the Psalm.
So
it's a weird take.
Is the reason they were kind of stuck on interpreting these, different passages in the Old Testament, prophetic passages, was because the Muslim guy wanted to talk about that Muslim
right?
Jew? And
yes.
Did the Muslim guy do this because he's like, well, AP's a Christian, so I'm gonna go with the Christian text? Do you think is that why he chose to do that? Yeah, okay.
I think so.
Sorry, but that's not the debate. The debate is Islam true? Sorry.
This, and also said this. Thanks for letting me know about this show, Isa. So Isa promoting the channel. Let's go.
So my thing is, the debate topic is Islam true? It's not about Christianity. And AP was right to have a reprisal and say, why are you talking Christianity? The debate's not about Christianity. It is about Islam. And I see this a lot from the Muslim debaters. That's why I decided to defend Islam, because I'm like, it's an incompetent defense. All you're doing is you're attacking whatever the other person believes. And like, this gets you nowhere. It doesn't prove anything. It doesn't show anything. And
it's attacking when it's done incompetently, and it's a little bit of hijacking if you do it competently. I don't know. I don't think it's a convincing argument.
It's not convincing, because in most of these debates with Islam, I don't know what Islam is. The debate that had the most Islam in it was Robert Spencer versus David Wood. That's the thing where I was a debate that covered Islam deeply. At least there are interpretations of it. But I'm like, at least we're talking about Islam here. We're going deep into what Islam is about, what the stories are about, from those, gentlemen's perspectives. Obviously, it's not a sympathetic approach, but at least it's talking about Islam. This debate, how much Islam was mentioned? Very little.
Very little, yes.
Very little. And I'm like, this is incompetence. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you're telling me about Christianity. We're not talking about Christianity. We're not debating, is Islam better than Christianity? Christianity is not the topic. So why are we talking about it?
He also chose a weird strategy which he later accused AP of doing, and was to mention a bunch of arguments in the opening, all at a very superficial level, right? And we are more partial to, I don't know, maybe pick three and go a little bit deeper into the argument. But I think that the problem is that these are surface level arguments, so there is no much deeper than you can go. But I have, to be fair, if you put me on the outside, I have a little bit of the same kind of criticism of Christians when they say that the Trinity is in the Old Testament. It's like, no, the fuck, it's not, right? So I like to be fair in that sense, and both are a little bit guilty of doing the same thing. Sea Lion Prime says, good evening. Sea Lion Prime is Lucas. He had a talk with Dr. J in the afternoon about gun controls and legislation. And Mohammed, number one, we're going to stop with the all caps, right? And if you have a lot to say, there's a link right there, top of the side chat. Come on and give us your view. If you please, if you want, you will be more than welcome, and we can talk about it. I told Hussein to come by, but I don't think he knows the new channel, and I forgot to give him the other one. I was having dinner. All right, Dr. J.
AP's opening, I thought it was good.
Yes,
Yeah, I thought he said, hey, I think this is a contradiction. I think this is a contradiction. He didn't know what he was talking. He didn't he made mistakes and contradictions. I thought it was succinct and pretty good.
All right. More memorable than the
Yes, more memorable.
Yeah.
So Isa, tell me this, like, do most Muslims, or what percentage of Muslims would say, like, Islam is a continuation of the Old Testament to some degree?
Well, the idea is that the Islamic tradition, it's the same thing like the Baha'i argument. It's that all of these prophets are coming from God to teach about the truth of God, and bring people to, you could say, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, which is Arabic for the straight path, or the Darach, in Hebrew, to bring people to the straight path. So the idea is, it's interesting. It's new to me because I'm getting more familiar with more like Salafi, Wahhabi Muslims, and they make arguments like the Hebrew prophets were Muslim.
Yes,
This to me, I've never heard this in my entire life, because it makes no sense to me, because the idea of what being Muslim means, it's not a linguistic term, it's a practice. So you do 5 times prayer.
The 5 pillars.
The 5 pillars. You fast, you do Ramadan. So this is just, to me, it's utterly ridiculous to try to say that these people are Muslim. And then they say, well, it's a linguistic thing because they submit to God. I'm like, okay, are you enlightened because you're Buddhist? Are you thankful to God so you're Jewish? I mean, if you take that position, then it's a more like mystical perennialist position. Fine, I think that's fair, but they don't take that position. And then these same people will say Ahmadiyas are not real Muslims, and Ismailis are not real Muslims, and all these other people who don't do exactly the way they do it, they're not real Muslims. So I'm like, how is Christ a Muslim then? It's a charlatan grifting narrative that is illogical and makes no sense. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And the Quran calls the prophet Abraham, peace and blessings, a Hanif. It doesn't say he's a Muslim. It used the word Islamti, but it's not saying he's a Muslim. It says he's a Hanif. He says he's not a Christian and he's not a Jew. He's a Hanif.
So do most Muslims not think that Islam was in the Old Testament? Or tell me, you kind of went on a long rant about the minority there. I'm kind of trying to get the general big picture. You know what I mean?
It's hard because Muslims are fragmented. There isn't,
it's
not just a unified body, but
hit a percentage.
Okay, I mean, so
rough percentage.
So just basically, in a very hyper simplistic way, Muslims believe that there's a message from God and that this message is continued. I would say all Muslims take that. Whatever the idea is of these ancient people or Muslims or not, it doesn't matter. But the point is that these prophets all taught in the oneness of God. They taught Tawheed. I would say all Muslims take that position.
Yeah.
That is what I would say is a unified position across all Muslims.
The Muslim apologist says, greetings to everyone. Sorry I can join. I'm outside with my wife and son. We'll have fun traveling to another city. That's cool. Sir Little Wolf, so glad I'm not a Muslim anymore. Was for 3 years to be with my daughter's mom. Ooh, spicy. Wait, hold on. I'm going to save this for the end because I would never fucking do that. But I think we need to talk more about that in detail. And then love this. Women can't have more husbands because they don't hold sperm rights. Love that. Love that. I know women that could have 10 husbands. Funny. Do you want to go next, Isa, for AP's opening, or should I go?
You go ahead. Doc, I want to ask one thing to Dr. J. Did I answer your question? Or?
I guess so. So you're saying most Muslims think that the Old Testament has some truth going on there, that these were in some way prophets of God or they see it in a positive light, but they don't necessarily see it as like a direct continuation into Islam. They just maybe got some things roughly right in the Old Testament. Is that,
well,
I restate what you said?
According to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Sunni Islam, which is the majority of Muslims, it's one of the creeds of faith that you believe in the prophets, you believe in the books, you believe in the angels, you believe in the power of God, and you believe in like the day of judgment. So this is a part of the creed of faith. You do have to believe in the books, the Torah, the Zabur, and the Injil, right? So the Torah, that's debatable of what that means, but some might argue it's the Chumash, the 5 books, right, or the Pentateuch. And then the Zabur is the Psalms, and the Injil is the Gospels. I would say for Muslims in general, the Torah and the Zabur are not that problematic. The Gospels are problematic because of the divinity of Christ. The biggest problem for the Muslim for the Torah, and not really the Psalms. The Psalms aren't really questionable. It's more the Torah is that the heroes of the text have some problematic narratives, and there's this concept of ma'sum, which means that you're kind of blameless. You don't have any blame. So like the idea of the prophet in Islam, Noah is a prophet, right? So him being drunk is a problem for some Muslims, right? And so that's the contention that Muslims would have, are these kind of problematic narratives. But in reality, it's not that bad, because like the Hadith have things that would be problematic for modern audiences too. So I would say, that it's an interesting conversation. What is blameless? What does that mean? But the New Testament is the big problem and I would say Sunni Muslims and Rabbinic Jews are pretty much like joined at the hilt. They operate the same way. They have scholars that interpret the texts. And the big thing for both Rabbinic Jews and Sunni Muslims is this concept of God being one and unified and being Tawheed, right? So this idea of the Trinity is like, it's utter blasphemy for both the Rabbinic Jew and the Sunni Muslim. So,
as I would say, that is shirk as fuck.
Yeah, it would be shirk. Yeah. Shirk is making partners. Shirk. So, yeah.
Ooh, that's bad. That when you do that is bad. So AP, I think, did a good job with pointing out some problems that we have in the Quran. Also on what Isa said, Deen's rationalization for some of those things is that the Quran came to correct some deviations from the text, or some mishaps in the transmission, in the conservation, yada yada, right? That's I heard Deen say that. But AP did a good job on pointing out some problems with some textual criticism, and also a little bit of deflection on some of the things that Deen, they're clearly familiar with each other. So he was a little bit prepared on some of the rebuttals, so took some time to build a case, and also went on the offensive towards the end. So I think it was an effective opening. It was good strategy, but you can do that. We can do the same with Christianity. So it is a little bit of a Deen called it double standard when evaluating some claims towards Islam with one rigor, and evaluating claims towards Christianity with a different rigor. And I think he did that quite a lot. That's why I said that it went kind of, it ebbed and flowed. Oh, a woman is a lock and a man is a key. If a lock can be opened by many keys, that means it's a faulty lock, or that maybe many people need to use the door. That's also, another possibility. Thank you for trying, though. It was interesting. Isa, on to you. Thoughts on AP's opening?
No, I'm kidding. I think it was a very strong opening.
Yeah.
I don't think that those arguments would hurt me personally, because I take a spiritual interpretation of these things.
Yeah.
I would say, like if we look at the book of Genesis, there's two different creation narratives. I don't think that makes the text false. I just think that it can have spiritual interpretations, and you could take the story of the prophet Joseph in the Quran and compare it to the Bible, to the Torah, and yeah, they differ a bit, but I don't see it as a correction. I when I hear that argument, it's really stupid to me, because if that were the case, there's 44 books of the Bible. I would say the Quran would need to be much longer and much more vast as a text, because it would have to correct all the things. We need to hear the corrections on Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Obadiah and Jeremiah and the Shoftim, which are the judges. We would need corrections on all of this stuff. So when I hear that argument, I'm like, it's a ridiculous argument, because the Quran is only 114 chapters. You can read the Quran in basically a day, right? I've done it. I've read the entire Quran in like a day or two, right? The Bible takes a much longer time, because it's like 40 books. You know what I mean? It's a vast, and that's the Hebrew scriptures. And then if we're including the New Testament, that's like there's another number of books that you have to read, right?
27.
It is a pretty big, it's a big ass book.
So I'm like,
It is.
So like, to me, this is a silly position, and I think it should be abandoned. And I don't think it's not a good religious theological position. I think it's a position that should be retreated from. The better position is to say what the Quran is operating on is it's taking a deep position of ihsan, like a spiritual reflection on all of these things. And the reflections that it's making on all of this stuff is on a spiritual level. And there's a depth to the level. The level of the Torah is a more kind of historical narrative, and the Quranic narrative is a spiritual narrative. And so maybe some of the details might be not exactly completely harmonized and resonating. And that doesn't mean that you don't have to read the Quran as a literalistic text.
True.
This is my problem. When we're reading it as a literalistic text, there's a lot of issues that you're going to face, I think. This is one of them. The idea, all the contentions that AP brought up, which are, Amram, Uzair, all of these types of details that you can't find. Yeah, you can escape all of this stuff. You don't have to be stuck with these things. You can take a different kind of route of dealing with them. But if you take the literalistic route, it's much more difficult. It's a much more uphill battle. And when I see debates like this, I'm like, you don't sound well, like, to an audience when you're trying to argue the literalistic interpretation. You just don't. You're not convincing anyone. You're not persuading anyone of your positions. Most people, when they embrace Islam or convert or revert or whatever term you want to use, it's not these arguments. These arguments are not the arguments that impress people. What I would say impresses people is kind of community, the arguments of community, solidarity, helping the poor, helping the orphan, these kind of very practical elements, spiritual elements. These are the things that are persuasive. These other arguments, like what Deen was making, they were not compelling to me. Nothing was very impressive or anything. But AP's argument. Just
there was one thing. Hold on, before you dive more into AP, there was one thing that AP brought up, which he doesn't. Is he didn't bring up? At least he didn't bring up the corruption, which is an even worse argument than this. At least something is something, right?
Yeah, at least something is something.
Something is something. Come on, we have to give him. He did a good one there. I was impressed.
Yeah, something is something. I get that. I mean, for me, it's like it's not too impressive for me, but I hear your point. Like when you're at the bottom of the barrel, you're trying to scrape for anything you can get.
I mean, we've been seeing that one too much, and it's so ridiculous that I thought this. I was like, yes, good job.
Yeah, I think that Deen had good decorum. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
He'd say he's very British. He's got the British decorum. Very, very British. Extremely so. Like, that was coming out very much. But, like, looking at AP's argument, AP was like, look, you're saying this Quran is this holy spiritual text, right? Well, I can see tons of flaws in it. Look at this flaw. On a basic level, all of these things are contradictory. They're not harmonized. If this is really a divine book from God, how can it get all this stuff wrong? That's basically what his position is. Which, when I always ask that question, can you steel man the argument?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Deen couldn't do it. Deen was like, these are bad. No, I'm like, you have to. The point of why I asked that is because I want you to really understand your opponent's position. If you can't really get into your opponent's head, you lost. If you're just like, no, I don't agree. I'm like, no, first you have to represent what their position is before you deconstruct it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I was not impressed by the performance at all, but we'll go into that later. But I think
yes,
AP, I mean, that's AP's initiative. He was like, look, I'm going to show you, because he's been doing videos on this for a long time. So he's like, here's this argument, here's this argument, here's this argument. And honestly, going deeper, I don't think Deen really responds at all to any of that. Funny Deen response. I don't think he actually gives a good response to any of that. But yeah.
All right, we'll cover it a little bit
Sure.
more. Mohammed. We are on thin ice. He said, keep the silent for wives to make for husband and children. Nothing can be done. Logic say men can politely steal a woman. No, you can't steal people. No, that you're wrong. And that is, we don't kind of like that here. So if you would please stop talking about stealing people, I would kind of kindly appreciate it.
Oh, he's trolling.
Igor, see the get. Oh my, I'm so sorry, I can't see. See get liha. Sorry if I mispronounced that. And crucifixion, death, resurrection. Reason why whole New Testament exists. We don't watch Titanic sink and deny that it sank. Well, there are people that deny that Titanic sank. That they say that it was a sister ship. There is a whole conspiracy about that. And about the resurrection, it wasn't the topic today, but sure, I will be probably debating the resurrection of Jesus around late September on MDD. So stay tuned to that. So we did the openings. A lot of no, that is super chats. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Open conversation, Dr. J.
Yeah, I didn't quite finish it. What I was listening to is when they were going back and forth the 1 minute there, and they spent a lot of time discussing interpretations of the Old Testament. I thought that was all interesting. Maybe because I know the Old Testament a lot better than I would know interpretations of the Quran. I thought it was super funny, them critiquing each other's interpretations, because the passages in the Psalms are obviously very like metaphorical in a lot of ways, and yet they would just like argue about how metaphorical, and AP would be like, obviously this is not this, and And then the Muslim guy, Deen, he's like, oh yeah, but you interpret it, metaphorically in this sense, and Tertullian, interpret it in this metaphorical way. Like the Psalms are just so squishy. I wouldn't try to prove anything from the Psalms. Like
So you don't hold the position that the Psalms give prophecies, right?
oh no, I think they probably do, but like it's pretty tough. I mean,
Uh-huh. Okay.
if you've read any books like the 800,000 prophecies in the Old Testament that prove Jesus was prophesied in the Old Testament, they overstate the case pretty hardcore. Because
Right.
the
Yeah,
Psalms
I've seen that. Yeah.
is very metaphorical in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? You read, the imprecatory Psalms are the Psalms that like David just wishing all of his enemies would die. He's basically like, I wish everyone would die and kill these people and so on and so forth. And they seem like really bad because he seems like he just wants to murder everybody.
Yeah.
Christians kind of interpret that. No, these are his frustrations. He's just working out his frustrations. Whatever. Right there, they don't interpret it super literally necessarily.
Right.
Or whatever. So anyway, I'm not saying there aren't prophecies in the Old Testament, including the Psalms, but I think it's often overstated. And I'm guessing
Uh-huh.
AP wants to really hold strongly to more literal when it fits with the interpretation that Jesus is the Son of God, yet he's willing to go more metaphorical in other situations. So I thought it was funny to watch them debate it. Now, it was interesting to watch them debate it. Now, I think Deen's interpretations were super metaphorical. He was working really, really hard.
Yeah. Overtime.
He was putting in some interpretive work. That guy needs to go into theology school or something. He is really just he was really sweating. I didn't sort of agree with AP's point that if you're gonna go with this kind of interpretation, you can sort of fit anything in here, and that is
Right.
sometimes that is a problem with a lot of religious interpretation. Sometimes you can get so fuzzy with it that it can sort of mean anything. And
Yes.
I think Deen was easily in that territory. If he consistently interpreted things that way, you could just make the Psalm say whatever the heck you wanted.
Yeah. That I did get kind of the same sensation, and there was a point in which I think in a quite good strategy, AP told him, "Okay, can we apply this to the Soviet Union?" And also found a couple more that could fit that generous, let's say, kind of massagey style of interpreting.
Yep, it's a great way to put it. I like that. The massage
Yes,
style of interpreting. That's right.
and as far as I know, what I've seen, for example, with the Psalms, a little bit is misattributing things that are about David. They get applied to Jesus, but the subject is it's a song about David. It's not a song about Jesus. So I don't remember all of them from memory. But when I was watching Deconstruction Zone and that kind of stuff, he pointed out points out how some are actually misapplied. That's why I asked you, Dr. J, and you kind of
and some people claim
share that view.
they're double meanings, right? Well, this is about David and Jesus.
Yes.
And it's like, well, okay, maybe, I mean, I don't know. Maybe
there
David
is
was a type, he's kind of a not perfect illustration of what Jesus would be someday. Okay, but obviously this isn't like super solid stuff we can just, rock with.
yes.
This is we're getting into types. We're not exactly saying he's going to get bored on January 5th in this place or anything like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, it's not like a forecast or a bet. It's more general. I've seen people say that there is a material fulfillment and a spiritual fulfillment, and also all kinds of justification for the double type of fulfillment of some of those of those songs which are clearly marked for David. But I think it's applied like today. I mean, AP had an advantage. We did kind of talk about a little bit of the double standard that you have to take sometimes in the flip-flopping from the literalistic to the more interpretative framework. But AP had a clear advantage. Deen, polite, needs to work on those arguments. Come, Deen, come here, and we'll let you know. We'll help you. We'll pimp you out with some better arguments, because you didn't do that well today. And also, stop saying bro in a debate. You were doing so well, and at the end you started saying bro. No, bro. There's a bro rule in debate written with hidden ink everywhere. If you want to have an intellectual debate, don't say bro. And over to Isa.
Let's see.
He's already like exhausted
I-
from
I-
the bad arguments.
Well, the point is the debate's about Islam. It's not about the Bible.
Correct.
It's not about the Torah. It's not about the Psalms. It's not about the Gospels. It's about the Islam. It's about the Quran. Why are we bringing this up? We're not talking about how does Islam relate to Christianity. And every time I see this type of debate, I'm just like, it's a waste of time. Because it has nothing to do with the topic. You know? And it's like whenever I hear people say, I'm going to attack Christianity, I'm like, it doesn't prove Islam is true. And in fact, it hurts Islam, because if you're going to go and attack so Dr. J, to answer your question earlier, Islam's structure is based on this stuff. It's based on these prophets. It's based on Christ. It's based on all of this stuff. That's what the Prophet of Islam was preaching in Mecca. He was saying, hey, I am a prophet from this lineage. I am a prophet of this lineage that is here to be a reminder, to bring you back to the true path. And if
that's what I thought. I thought there was like a pretty strong kind of connection.
It has to. If you throw that away, then you've got nothing. The whole point is you're saying, I am connected from the beginning of time to this prophetic lineage. He didn't establish that. That's what he has to do first. He has to prove that the Prophet of Islam is linked to the prophetic lineage. He didn't talk about that. He just went into the Bible and went into this very kind of like meta conversation that nobody really knows about unless you kind of study this stuff. And you go into you're going into these murky waters talking about the Psalms. What's the Psalms? I don't know. Like, as a teacher, like, that's super important for me. When you're debating this very simple topic, is Islam true? You've got a goal here. You got to explain like I said before, you got to explain what Islam is. You got to explain why Islam's important. You got to explain what truth is. You got to do all of this stuff, and you got to do it quickly and fast and have an impact with it. If you don't do that, then you're not really standing on anything. And that was the problem. He had no foundation. So he spent his foundation, Deen's foundation was based on, the Bible and the Quran support that, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings, like, his relevance. That was basically what his opening argument is. I don't know who he is, though. And I'm like, he never did it throughout the whole debate. And basically the entire conversation that we saw was this, like, let's debate about what the Psalms mean. Who cares what the Psalms mean? This is not about the Psalms. This is about Islam. It's about the Quran. And I'm like, it's ridiculous. Like, I was just like blown away on how bad that was, because I'm like, this has nothing. Like, I remember that debate at DebateCon between AP and that guy, like the Gnostic informant. Yeah, it had nothing to do with Islam. The debate's about Islam, but you're not debating Islam. You're not talking about it.
Yeah, that guy is weird. His debate style is the weird as hell.
And he had a big problem with Andrew Wilson too. I'm like, dude, I kind of really felt bad for him. He seems like a really nice guy, but I was like, dude, you're kind of out of your depth, man.
He deals more with debunking Christianity, and has some very stringent ideas of how Jesus is a sort of retelling of the myth of Dionysius. And it's interesting, but it's a little bit on the flimsier side of argumentation.
And you can't debate Andrew Wilson with that kind of style.
No.
You think you're going to go against Andrew Wilson is a seasoned debater, and Andrew Wilson has his position of what he's doing. And it was just sad when I watched him. Like, you're not prepared for Andrew Wilson. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
at AP, it went downhill. I was like, Lord have mercy. Like, he's like, and then he basically at the end just conceded that Islam is bad, and I don't like Islam. Like, I'm like, you're defending Islam, and then you're conceding that Islam sucks. I'm like, wow, that was smart. I'm like, James, brother, you think that was a smart move to do that?
No, that was bad.
That was an epic fail, dude. Like, you could have just gotten someone from the audience, so they would have done a better job than that. You know what I mean? But
Here, 1 second. Apollos for $4.99. Thank you so much. Messianism overall is interesting for sure. The prophecies held by Jews predating Jesus in general are largely reinterpretations of the original text, but they were held by large strands of Jewish communities predating Jesus, effectively exegeting the text of meaning and giving predictive power. Okay.
Cool, I guess. But basically my feeling on the opening was it had nothing to do with Islam, so it really just went nowhere.
It did go for a little bit in a few circles and kind of sidetrack and so on.
I liked it a lot more. If that makes you feel any better, Isa, I didn't mind it. I at least can follow. I didn't mind it that much. So maybe we get to disagree. We usually agree on way too much, so we can.
Well, we
can argue on this one.
It's not that I disagree with you. It's that there's a topic of the debate. The topic's not covered. So I'm like, cool. I mean, it's an interesting conversation, I guess, but it has nothing to do with the topic. Your job, bro, Deen responds, is to defend Islam and prove Islam is true. You didn't do that. You're supposed to be using every time of the space to defend that Islam is true. Epic fail. Epic fail. I agree with you. It's an interesting conversation, but it has nothing to do with the debate. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm debating Flat Earth versus the globe, and then I start talking about Mission Impossible movies,
I wouldn't be surprised. That's for sure.
Would you like to know how many subscribers Deen has?
What, like 800,000?
18,800.
Oh,
it's a lot.
And I'm surprised because I'm like, what is he offering? Like, if that's what he's offering, is that I'm going to talk about some philosophy of Christianity and Judaism and talking about Mishnah and Talmud. Like, he mentioned those words. I'm like, I don't think you've studied Talmud or Mishnah. I don't think you know what Mishnah is. You know the word, but I don't think you understand the concept of it. I guess, like, maybe that's what people like. They like pseudo scholars. Like, they're into pseudo scholars who have like no background in training and in like scholarship, and then you could just sound like you're smart, and you're not really actually smart. You just are a pseudo intellectual, and then people are like, "Whoa, dude, you're so smart, man. You know what the Bible says." Tertullian, man. Tertullian. Whoa. Let me tell you about church fathers. You don't have any scholarship on these church fathers. You know nothing about it. You read some article on Google and you put it in ChatGPT to make it sound like, you know what, you're smarter than you actually are. I'm like, this is ridiculous. You think that you could talk about Polycarp or any of this stuff? You don't know about this stuff, man. You don't even talk about Islam. Oh, Ibn Taymiyyah. That was like the only thing. Like, hearing Ibn Taymiyyah on repeat was ridiculous. I'm like, how many times did my man say Ibn Taymiyyah? Unbelievable.
Yes.
I'm like, who's Ibn Taymiyyah? I don't know. You just say the name. Okay.
Why should we listen to him? What is the legitimacy? Like, a lot of times, a little bit of the framework of, okay, I'm going to relate to this scholar because of this and that, right? I don't remember what debate it was, but I was speaking with Dr. J about scholarship. And I said, like, okay, this scholar says this, and that. And Dr. J told me, like, that when you go down that argument route, you need to kind of frame it a little bit more like, okay, it's not that you're just quote mining someone. You need to explain why you think that it's a valid argument. Like, you need to frame it a little bit more, right?
I agree. I think in
It was
scholarship,
Dr. J. It wasn't me. I'm stealing his words.
well, Dr. J and I know this. When you spend your time at academia and you start reading texts and you have to go through all these spaces where you have to write lots of papers. Like I took a class on Hebrew scriptures and I did a paper on Shamgar ben Anath, right? I had to go deep into this text. I had to get my text peer reviewed. I had to do hard work because I can't just write whatever I want. Like I had to have other scholars look at my work and say, okay, this is fine. This is like legit. That's how academia is. You don't just get to BS your way around. You don't just get to say whatever you want. But on YouTube, on TikTok, there's no peer review. You just can act like you sound smart, and that means you are smart. And I'm like, that's what I've been seeing, pseudo-intellectualism. And I'm like, it's unbelievable. No effort. No, you don't have to try. You just come and say, well, I'm just going to say Tertullian. I'll say that 3 times.
Yes.
I'll say Mishnah. I'll say Talmud.
It sounds good.
You're smart. You said Mishnah and Talmud and Tertullian. Whoa, you got it. You understand philosophically, you know.
It sounds
Law of excluded middle. Whoa,
delicious.
I know logic. Law of excluded middle. I can say these words, buzzwords, and people like I heard this guy named Muslim Apex. I was listening to this guy. He's like the kid. He's like 21 years old, and I heard him talking, and I'm like, this is pseudo-intellectual bullcrap. Like that's literally all it is. He doesn't know this stuff. He's not a scholar, but he learned how to sound smart. So then people take him as being smart. And that's what you see. Like there's this movie with Jesse Eisenberg. He's like a kid in the movie, but his father is a scholar, right? He learns how to imitate how his father talks, right? And he tries to pick up this girl, right? So he uses these words. He never read the book, but he learns the kind of the punch, like the synopsis of the book. So then he tells this girl about the synopsis of the book, and then she gets interested in him, right? And it's unbelievable because it's like, that's what I'm like. That's how I feel. A lot of these people are just a bunch of pseudo-intellectualism. You just come out, say a lot of stuff that sounds smart, and then people are like, "Let me give you 18,000 subscribers because you sound smart." And you're like, "You're defending Islam." I'm like, "How? By attacking Christianity and Judaism, How do you defend Islam with that?" That's like, I'm not getting the logic. If you insult
that is even worse. That is even a worse story. But people do take that, and it's so dumb.
And like the point too is when they said, "Oh, all the prophets are Muslim." Yeah, but Ahmadiyas, they're not really Muslim because they believe Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's a prophet, and the Ismailis, they're not praying 5 times a day. Okay, they're not really Muslim. But Jesus is a Muslim, even though he never prayed 5 times a day. He didn't fast Ramadan. He didn't pay zakat. Actually what Jews have to pay, it's the same thing Christians do. You have to pay tithe 10% of your wealth. So you give 10% of your wealth. Muslims pay 2.5% for zakat. So it's not even the same thing. So no alms, no shahada, no Ramadan, no Hajj al-Bayt, no Samul Ramadan, no pilgrimage to Mecca, no fasting Ramadan. But he's a Muslim. Why is he a Muslim? Because he believes. He submits. I'm just like,
it's a different. It's a bad tactic because
it makes me. That meme where the person goes like this. That's what I feel when I hear it. I'm like, it's so stupid and dumb. I'm like,
because even by that definition, you could extend that to me. Because if God exists, whether I like it or not, I have to submit to God as a human. There is nothing. So even me as an atheist who doesn't believe in God, that would make me that definition of Muslim would make me a Muslim, and I'm one of the farthest things you can be from a Muslim, right?
I get you. I think correct. If you're going to use this linguistic fallacy, then you would become a Muslim, because if God is real, you're forced to submit to God. That's just
I have no choice.
You have no choice. I agree with you.
I might not. I don't pray. I don't do any of the things that of the 5 pillars. I don't do any of them, but there is nothing I can do against God. So I am submitted to God. There, I am bound. There is nothing I can do. So that makes it so that everyone is a Muslim, and that is such a dishonest way of classification, right?
I agree. So that's
Max,
why.
I mean, I have the beard. I'm growing my Muslim beard, and anytime I can just,
And you look pretty Arab too, dude.
right now with the bald head and the beard, yes.
You could be Nadir Ahmed's cousin.
Nadir, shout out to Nadir, shout out to Hussein, and to all our Muslim friends. Don't take it the wrong way. Don't take it like we're not trying to mock you. We're just trying to make sure that you make better arguments for your religion. The utilitarian argument, for example, how he unified Arabia, I think that is way more convincing than anything else. You know, like, yeah, in Arabia, we were a little bit of savaging around. So came Muhammad and kind of civilized us.
And unified us.
And unified us and did, well, what they did at that time was try to conquer other sort of kingdoms and that kind of a thing. But it was a net positive for Arabia that Muhammad came along. That I mean, that is an acceptable argument. Better than anything else I've ever heard. What? No! Make Flat Earth again became a member of Yerba Mate now, but no! How are you going to be called like that? No! Flat Earth is dead. It's over. It's over. Sorry.
Got to get security guard Taikori back in, man.
Oh.
Security guard Taikori, who's working on the job and preaching Flat Earth. We got to get him back in, where he's sitting at his security guard place, and he's like on the phone. He's like, "Here's the math. Here's the math."
when was this? Hold on. Did I miss? Oh shoot. I did. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. CK gifted 10 Yerba Mate Talks memberships, and I had missed that from way at the beginning of the show. Bro, CK, I'm so sorry. We're going to see who they went to. If YouTube would let me know. Shoot. But CK, thank you. Thank you so much. Alrighty. What else? Let's talk a little bit about the dumpster fire at the end. Some stuff was said, mostly because AP basically put Deen in a position of having to say some stuff that is not the best for the 2025, for the year 2025. That is about separating the heads of apostates from their bodies. So don't take that position, man. Just like bite the bullet, do the bit, and say, yeah, no, I don't think you should be killed, and that's it, and move along. There is no other way. Sorry.
Can you help me a little bit? Be a little more clear. AP asked
a question. What should happen to AP as an
apostate?
As an apostate.
Yep.
And the Deen gave the answer that is what the Quran says. That's what the law says. It is okay to split your head so that it becomes a helmet.
It's actually very easy to mitigate this position.
Yeah, just say no.
I'm saying even if you take a Salafi position, you said, look, you need an Islamic State to do that. No Islamic State exists. Thus, it can't happen. That's it.
That's also good.
I'm saying if we're taking a Salafi position, because that's what he is. He's a Salafi. So I'm like, if I'm going to argue as a Salafi, that's the position I would take. And it's an easy position. Say, Jews have the same types of laws in the Torah. They don't follow it because, the Mashiach's not here. Like the conditions are not available for this to happen. The temple is not here. The Sanhedrin's not here. So we can't do it anymore.
Yeah. So
or we moved on.
Even the problem with that argument, though, is you could say, well, I as AP need to do everything possible to make sure you don't establish an Islamic State here, because otherwise you'll kill me, right? The guy's going to go, yep, we would. So should be one of AP's big goals to not let that guy be in charge. Correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing is, it won't happen because you need a lot of conditions. The same thing. This is why I compare Judaism. It's funny when what's his name, Daniel attacks Judaism. Like, you don't realize that Judaism's like identical to Islam. It functions. All the functions are the same kind of functionings. So the thing is to have that kind of state. You can't have a national. Wael B. Halak, who wrote The Impossible State, he's a brilliant scholar from Palestine. His position was that no Islamic state, an Islamic state cannot work with a nation state. So something like Pakistan is not an Islamic state. It's a state filled with Muslims, but it is not an Islamic state because there are conditions that are required. And the things that were required are like during the time of the Age of Empires. You have to have a caliph. A caliph is not something that would be even accepted now. There's been a lot of battles, just like in the European world. The Islamic world had tons of battles with each other, you know? You had like the Fatimids, the Abbasids, the Umayyads, the Mutazilites battling against the scholars. This is what existed historically speaking. It was not.
Yeah,
it wasn't easy riding.
I see the argument, but you would. So then you would say, well, it won't happen, but God will be wishing you were dead. Yes, God would be wishing AP was dead.
Well, you know what?
It's a tricky
here's the Islamic argument you can make against that. That before you die, you have a chance to repent. So you have every chance to repent. So the longer you're alive, you have a bigger chance to repent. See, look at me. Like, I can bring out lots of arguments, even using his Salafi mentality, that are better than what he brought. I'm like, dude, let me be the Salafi debater because I can debate better than this Salafi here. He's just like, yeah, you would die. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not how, that's especially not Sunni Islam works. Sunni Islam has a lot of mechanisms. There's a concept of maslahah, public interest, or the public the traditions of the community. Sunni Islam has lots of mechanisms, just like Rabbinic Judaism. Do Rabbinic Jews say go and kill people? No. Neither do Sunni Islamic scholars. They don't do that. Daesh does that, but Daesh is in conflict with Sunni Islam. They say they're Sunni Muslims, but they're not. They don't follow the creed. Sunni Islam believes in shura. They believe in a council. Same thing with Rabbinic Judaism. There's a council of scholars and jurists that sit and discuss what the laws and rules are, and they come to agreements.
Right.
That's basically what the Talmud is. It's just like fiqh texts. Fiqhs are jurisprudence texts. So you have these scholars who are conversing on different hypotheticals and discussing what's best for the society. That's how these traditions are. They're very scholarly based, right? But this kind of like off movement where people just read Google and they think that they're now scholars because they read Google, and they believe that they can marry a woman one day, divorce her the next. Sunni Islam rejects that. Your standard Sunni Islam, which rejects this kind of marrying and divorcing. Like I have in my city, we have
the muta.
It's not exactly muta. It's just like it's not, because muta is a Shia tradition, right?
Oh,
which
okay.
It's a type. So Sunni Muslims, I don't know if I would even like I don't even know if they identify as Sunnis, but we have people who identify. They call themselves Salafis in Philadelphia. And what they do is they marry a woman, then they divorce her the next day. They do a triple talaq, and then they marry another woman the next day. And I've seen this. I've actually seen this in my city, and I'm like, this is utterly ridiculous.
Is there any? Aren't you supposed to give dowry to marry? What is the dowry for a one-day marriage?
Well, I don't know if it's intended to be a one-day marriage. It just doesn't function because these people live in the hood. They live in this kind of very disenfranchised neighborhoods, and they don't really even know how to have a stabilized marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't know about like investing in a house and forward thinking. You're kind of in, if you're in the slums, it's like a difficult situation, and you're not trained. You come from families where you don't have like a mother. You don't have a father figure in your household, and it's difficult. It's a tough ride to go through. You know what I mean? And so you're just like, well, I'm a Muslim. I need to be married. But you don't really know what marriage is. You don't know what kind of investment you have to make, to make things work, like how to be emotionally available. Like marriage requires a lot of different things. It's not just you just jump in and, it's this easy ride. It's not just about
Yeah.
sex. And I think that some people, it's like, I got to get married so I can have sex. And I'm like, then I think you're
that
missing
also
the point of
happens with
marriage.
Christians. I think it's
No, I agree with you.
all the
It's
wrong
the same
reasons to
problem.
get married.
It's the same. I agree with you. It's the same problem. It's a problem of a kind of fanaticism. It's not a space of like having a kind of a deeper understanding.
Right. Isa, one question. Can we do a little
What's up?
bit of a pause here? Because, like, I mean, I say we both kind of just agree. It's the bad reason to get married, but I have a solution to it. Like these people don't have, which is just have sex, right? These people don't have that solution. What? Yeah, it's true.
I'm not saying it's not. I mean, like, but if you're a religious person, that's not the answer.
That's not
Because
the answer.
God is
So,
telling you have to get married to have sex. So.
right, right. So, what is the sensible way one can go about that without being like completely hypocritical in the process?
Well, I mean, you could do like a courtship process. You know what I mean? Like you have boundaries and stuff. You know, and you can build a
Okay.
relationship. I mean, there's ways of doing that. But I think, you know, I think discipline is not a bad thing. You know, I think it depends person to person of how you deal with this situation.
I can do discipline. I
Cool.
can do discipline. I stop smoking cigarettes. I stop doing drugs. I can do discipline, but that is too much. Like I was going to say something horrible. At let's say a more sensible age, 16-year-old Max was going around with his tongue outside like that. So I don't know. How my life could have been if I were told, oh no, you can't do that until you're married.
I think each person has their own journey. Like I'm not judging or condemning anything.
Fair.
I think people have different spaces, and for some people, that's a kind of a journey that's important for them. I just think that having some kind of grounding in what you're doing, not just blindly following and just doing stuff for the sake of doing it. I think that that's the problem. Like when people are like, I'm getting married because, you know, I'm told to do it, but you're not like really thinking about what marriage is, you know, and then there's consequences to that. So,
Yes. Yeah. Dr. J, what would you answer to the same question I just asked?
About
Isa?
about the solution. Well, I mean, I didn't sleep with anybody till I got married. So I guess it can be done. That's what you're asking. So if you like, what's the solution to the problem? I mean, you know, usually
No, well, the problem being people who start getting married because their motivation is to get their first sexual experience, which is a wrong motivation to get married.
I mean, it would the claim would just which definitely right happens within Christianity. There's no question about that. That the usually the answer is, you know, some kind of the reason you did that was because you didn't have enough discipline. You know, you didn't have enough faith. If you would have trusted God more, you know, you could, you know, be able to do it. And you know, obviously, as you know, quitting smoking and all that, if people really, you know, really try, sometimes you can discipline yourself to do really difficult things. Now, everyone's different, so maybe it was easier for me than someone else. I doubt it, but you know, I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Thank you so much. What else do we have for the open discussion? Any thoughts on the debacle part of the debate? That's what we were talking about.
You said it got spicy. You told me one aspect
yes.
of it. Was there any other ways, or is that the main way?
No, that's what happens. And then the problem is that AP kind of did some generalizations which weren't like totally warranted, because he said something like that's how you get terrorists and that kind of a thing. So it wasn't the best look for AP towards sorry, towards the end, it went a little bit discriminatory.
I think that AP kind of had a meltdown.
A little bit, just
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, I think that basically I think it was a straw that broke the camel's back, and he starts saying, "Shut up, don't talk." I was like, "Whoa, man, this is heavy."
I can't believe it went that way. It didn't seem like
It
he was
we
that contentious.
did.
Well, it did because because that's a trigger for AP. Like that's his trigger that Apostate should be killed. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
But
so that
he has this card that makes his opponent look really, really bad.
Yeah.
And because his reaction to something which he knows is going to happen,
Right.
his reaction makes him that he uses a win card and ends up losing the hand.
Right.
He has the highest card in the deck and still manages to lose within that move. It is idiotic. Just take the win. Just take the win. Just say what should happen to Apostate. That's it. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
That's it. Move on to the next. I mean, you know, he knows what the answer is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a bad move, AP.
So I can say what I felt about it. I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of came out of nowhere. I was like, "Oh shoot!" Like it just was like this extreme explosion, and you know, I think that the hand was lost for AP on that situation. Like AP needs to like learn how to like chill when that appears. Like if you're gonna use that hand, you have to like look like you're the higher guy in it. You say like, you say Islam is true. Well, if Islam is true, why do you need a practice where you're, you know, killing off people who defect? If it's true, you don't need to guard this. Why do humans need to guard this? It seems this is a man-made situation where you're kind of afraid that your community will lose its power. It seems much more like a political grab than it seems like something that's divine. That would be a position that I would have taken if I were AP's situation. I'd be like, I wouldn't get angry. I'd be like, man, I pity you. You're stuck in this ancient 7th century cult where anybody who comes in and then leaves gets put to death. That's tragic. That's sad, man. And you really think that that's true? That's a religion that you believe in? Man, that's that's a tragedy.
We've said it before. It makes if your position cannot be criticized and it needs to be enforced with ultimate force, it makes you look a little bit like a weakling because it's not an intellectual endeavor. It's not about saving souls. Nothing. It's about force, and it kind of undermines your whole thing.
And it's like, and your religion's divine? Like, this is from God? Like,
yeah.
The ultimate power, the most divine being, would kill his creation because they're not convinced of a religion? Doesn't God love God's creations? Like, this is the type of position that you... And then if you're saying, like, I'm a Christian, you're like, my God is this amazing God who just loves, and every time you see him, he doesn't have problems with women. He doesn't have 13 wives. He doesn't have, he's sinless. Whatever he does is the most moral and ethical position. He uses these amazing parables that are way beyond human intellect, and there are these higher spiritual, and it holds you to this higher spiritual standard. Like, look at your situation. It's all about sex. Like, this is the type of stuff he could have used. He's like, you're so afraid about having sex, but all the stuff you're in your tradition's talking about sex. Like, this is the kind of argument that he could use. I don't think that's I don't view Islam that way, but I mean, from his view of Islam, that these are the tough spots. But you have to keep your cool, dude. You have to keep your cool and just be like, man, this is tough, dude. Like, really? You're trapped, man. You're trapped in something that, you're trapped in, like, in a quicksand, and you're just stuck there,
Yeah.
Like,
And you are in this debate space. You should know better that is going to be inevitably. You should be ready for that argument. But let's take just 1 second to. Max said the solution is to stop shaming people for being human and wanting to have sex. And then said, I wasn't a big fan of AP as no, I think he might have confused, but I think what he
it's an
means, and
ex-Muslim.
you can clarify that you were a fan of him as an ex-Muslim, not a fan of him as a Christian. I'm pretty sure because we have that Max connection. And then Emma gifted 50 Yerba Mate Talks memberships. Oh my God. That is so many memberships. It's just the three of us. Let's go. Let's do all of them. AT, Trevor, BDF Wayne, Dolly, Joe Webb, Rusted Feathers, Goran Anderson, Kip there, Slithery, Tim Davidson, Harold Carlson, Scott Steffi, Dave McKeegan, Idiot 666134, Emanuel Dascakis, Blade of Sorrow, Catherine Raitbot, Aldebaran, you are Victoria. Sorry, I got lost. Give me 1 second because it scrolled. Aldebaran, you're Victoria. Still CTJW, Lindsay Bow, Joseph Long, Ryu, Jay Gill, Aitansi, Manuel Smith, Ashton Richards, Sean, Martin Newsom, Big Fish, MQ, Chris Creaky, Magus, Morg, Mr. Sarah Lunas, Leodus, Clive Wells, Bruce Wayne, Mostry, Lito Gracer, Mr. Moo, Chris Parshall, Captain Flair for Sinro, My Left Boot, Tay, Ducks, White, Tomster, Skirmish, and that is all. Thank you so much, Emma. Kisses and hearts to you. Thank you. Sorry, where were we? I kind of lost. I spoke too long and I lost. I choked myself.
We were talking about the crash out.
Yes, crash out. I'm going to get water and I'll be right back.
Sure. I mean, I could talk about it a little bit, and I'll ask Dr. J what he thinks too, like from what he's heard. But like, basically, yeah, AP asked this question about what do you do with apostates, and he basically, Deen responds, basically takes the position that you put him to death, right?
Yep.
And then AP basically just starts yelling and screaming at him. It's like, you need to be quiet, and it gets really heavy duty. He starts to, and then. Deen kind of looks better in the interaction because Deen keeps his cool and he kind of withdraws and he lets AP speak for a long time. And then when Deen starts talking, AP starts to interrupt him. And it just becomes like a real crap fest, And, like my opinion is that if AP wants to have the higher end, he has to keep his cool, and I think that is important as a debater. What do you think, Dr. J? What's your opinion about keeping your cool, emotional?
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna convince anybody of anything, you certainly have to have that good emotional state right there. So I do agree he has to keep his cool. Now, is it understandable that he gets super mad that the guy basically says, "Yeah, we should kill you"? I mean, I can understand why he is mad. Like, I'm sure he is super mad about it. What's that?
But I understand, like, for example, I react when people insult me. Fine. But do I have the right to react if I ask something which I know the answer to? I know what's coming and I ask it on purpose. Does that give me the right to just act all indignant and just get mad because I know what's going to be said?
It is true when he basically, because you guys know exactly what he's doing, he's basically baiting the situation. It is a little bit like
weird.
You knew exactly what was going to happen here, and you're acting like you're so upset about. I mean, I guess I could understand him being upset, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Seems like maybe.
I mean, I see
mad
it as
when you
take
knew
the win.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Just take the win. Suck it up. Understand that, that's what they believe, and just you visualizing it brings it to the forefront, and you just expose a ridiculous belief. But I don't think it warrants a response like
Yeah,
someone just
and
insulted you
and
out of the
and,
blue.
and if you know that's what he's gonna say, and you're gonna get that mad, don't ask. You know what I
Maybe,
mean?
yeah.
Like,
Also,
you know what I'm saying? Like, if you can't not go bonkers on them, then don't ask. Because if the going bonkers makes you look so bad, you know, don't ask because he knew the answer.
yep, yep. But
Yeah, that's
I think
interesting.
that factors into the equation quite a bit. What do you think about the baiting? The reaction, Isa?
I mean, imagine. Remember, I've debated for a psalm. I've been put in the same hot seat. I've been in this space like where people say horrible things and like, dude, you're up. It's a pedophilic cult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all you do is beat women and have lots of wives and you know assault children. You know what I'm saying? Like these, and people ask these conversation like things in the chat. I kept my cool. I didn't get angry, and that's one of the points that people gave me. Like, oh, you're keeping your cool about this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, because these are people have their ideas, and you just have to like navigate them. But I mean, I dealt with that stuff. I dealt with, oh, the evil Muslims are gonna like with Tyler. He's like, all the evil Muslims are taking over the UK, and I'm like, I get where Tyler's coming from. I understand his perspective. Like, I get why people have fear of the, you know, things that they don't know. But I'm like, there's so many different levels to this. You're dealing with like disenfranchised people who have dealt with colonialism, don't have cultural stability. They come from an extremely unstable situation. Um, you know, their family are like they, a lot of them are not Arab, and they convert to like they have ancestors that converted to Islam, so they have, and then Arab. There's a lot of Arab money that's pumping in Arab books that kind of try to persuade them of this kind of narrative. All of this stuff. There's a lot of stuff at play here,
Mm-hmm.
and those variables are not brought up. It's just, oh, there's these violent people coming in taking over, and I'm like, it's not really like that. It's a lot more complex and nuanced. That's how most conflicts and things are. It's not just it's not a one-stop shop. But I don't know. Like I've heard some really offensive things, and that's what I did. I kept my cool. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have a small anecdote. Amender, I was in the MD Discord, and Amender was running to some people spouting racist nonsense, right? Just against black people and citing statistics and making shitty arguments. And Amender, I was there flat earthing with some people, some derplings, and Amender came in all mad, like, oh, they're being racist, yada yada, and they're saying this and that. And it's like, dude, Amender, just debate them and win the debate. It's not that hard. When people are racist, they don't have a rational argument. They're just assholes. So it's not hard to get past that. No, but they shouldn't. And yeah, this like, dude, just calm down, breathe, and just win the debate, bro. What are you doing? All righty. I think we can leave it for today because tomorrow we are doing a 1 hour stream. The reviewing Matthew Hakim. Well, yes, Matthew Hakim is the second, so we're going to review. It's Trumpers versus Destiny. So we're doing that tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern. Let's start with final words, Dr. J.
Oh yeah, I didn't mind the debate. I thought it was decent.
Yeah.
I was able to follow it fine. So yeah, I guess I have overall relatively positive vibes. I'm I don't really agree with Islam, so I wasn't, you know, and I don't know a ton about it, so I'm not sure I was amazingly engaged in it. But yeah, I was able to follow it. Maybe possibly because they were in the Old Testament a lot of the time, and that's easier for me to follow. So that helped. But yeah, I enjoyed it more than I did most Muslim debates.
Yep. I kind of the same thing. I liked the argument. I thought it could improve, but I don't know why Isa and sees me sometimes in David Wood's channel. I go there lurking and because I like this these debates of two religious people debating themselves. That is always entertaining for me for some reason, and getting an idea of what would work best as an argument. See who can make their argument more plausible to me as an outsider who doesn't have really any stock. I actually think they're both incorrect, and I could debate either of them and show my position on how they are both wrong, and it doesn't matter whatever the book says. Right? So I do kind of like that. I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed a little bit of the dumpster fire, but I think that it's not the way to go if you're going to basically bait an answer and then get all PC. It makes you look like a weakling. And the same way that I say when Islam does all of these things, that you can't talk against Islam, you can't criticize Islam, and that makes you weak. You know who does that? Dictators, because they're weak, because they don't tolerate dissent. If your position is strong, if your position is sound and valid, you withstand any kind of scrutiny. And I'm going to have to quote one of my best friends in the whole world, the prophet, the high priest, Lord and Savior of flat Earth, Austin Whitsitt, that says, truth doesn't fear investigation. And I think that is the one correct thing he has ever said, ever. So, yeah, that's what makes this conversation so interesting. Final thought, Mr. Isa.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
I think the debate would have been good if the debate topic was, is the Prophet of Islam supported by the Bible? I think that would have been more accurate. But if the topic is Islam true, we got nothing on it. Yeah, we didn't get it. That's my problem is if there's a topic and you're not debating the topic, then I'm like, it's cool. You can have like an amazing conversation about something completely different, but that would be fine. I do think it was an interesting conversation.
It was. You're right about the debate topic, though.
So to me, I am a stickler on that. I'm sorry. It's like if I'm writing if I have to write an argumentative essay for for a class, and I instead decide to write a descriptive essay, and I just tell a story about my life, I could write a really beautiful essay, and it could be super amazing, but that's not the plot. The plot is I'm doing an argumentative essay, so I'm going to get an F on that.
My last English teacher, when I was taking my final CPE course on 2023, for the essays, he used to tell me, be sure to read the instructions on the question and answer the fucking question. Do the task that it tells you. If you have to write a letter to your sister about a topic in particular, and another condition X, make sure that your answer addresses very specifically what is being asked of you. So I do resonate with that.
So I would, and that's it. It's like you got to do the assignment, and you miss the assignment, and it's like what I felt about Daniel Hakikachu versus David Wood in the second.
Yes,
I was like, this is not the assignment. We're not talking about, and Palestine comes up. Like, why are we keep talking about Israel? What does that have to do with this conversation? I'm like, this is a political issue that you're bringing into a religious conversation. Like, how about if I just randomly bring up Pakistan? I could do that. Like, I could say, we're debating something and say, you know what, Pakistan, they assault little boys in Peshawar. I could bring that up and say, yeah, this has nothing to do with what's going on, but I can tie some little string to the conversation, say, we're talking about little boys being assaulted. And I'm like, in religion. And I'm like, but that's not what the plot is here. And it's like, all of these conversations, like I always see this like free Palestine. And I'm like, first of all, none of you guys even know anything about geopolitics. And you're not going to do anything for Palestinians or Palestine. All you're doing is talking out of your butt, and you're angry. And I'm like, you need to fix your own problems. Your countries are hot messes that are just completely out of control. And you're getting angry and saying, well, Israel's bad. I'm like, yeah, so is Pakistan. So is Iraq. So is Iran. Like, you know what I mean? Are human rights being honored in a lot of these places? No. Are people suffering greatly? Yes. But you have these blinders on, and you're just like, I want to talk about this one issue that you know nothing about, you don't understand it, and then you try to quote things from the UN, and like that somehow gives you legitimacy in these conversations. You don't know about geopolitics, so stay out of that conversation because you don't understand it and you don't know how it works. And also, you're a charlatan, a grifter, and a hypocrite because you can't even deal with these same accusations you make for this one space exist in the spaces that you will cherish and honor and extol. And I mean, for me, that's my trigger. I hate. Don't tell me one thing about someone else and you don't hold yourself to the same standard. I'm like, I don't want to hear my ears go off. I'm like, I'm not listening to what you have to say, But that came up too, and I was like, why the heck is this in this conversation? Like, I'm like, and it keeps coming up every time, like the same topic that people know nothing about. They just want to keep talking about it. So yeah, there were good, interesting highlights in the conversation. I did agree with both you and Dr. J on the point that it was cool about the investigation of the Hebrew scriptures and, the kind of deeper analysis.
Gesundheit.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else?
Oh, I'm supposed to be streaming my episode. Should I do it because I was planning to do it in the morning, but
whenever you want.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing it around 11 or 11:30, but I'll post it.
Okay, we need to stay today. If you're going to do it tomorrow morning, we need to stay today so we can get you set up with the stage and no BS. But we'll do that on Discord, okay?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay. Have a couple more messages I want to read, and we'll be on our way. The first thing, Isa, would you like to do a little bit of reviewing of some of these guys' videos on his channel, so we can derp out a little bit? I don't know if you would. Is that your cup of tea? Watching some Islamic videos, Dr. J? I don't think so.
I'd be interested because I'm interested.
I know that you are, Isa. You and me we roll with that a lot, but Dr. J, I don't see him.
Do I want to watch Islamic videos? Not really.
Not really. I knew it. Yeah, it's okay. That's all good. We can.
Yeah.
We've done it with Isa. We went a little bit on the Lily J and some other derp because we like to correct some of the derp. Yeah. Dr. J, why don't you tell us what happened in your show in the afternoon?
Yeah, I've got a show that I'm doing every Thursday. Today was our second week. We're going over a book on changing our mind. So, we do a lot of debates here on this channel, or debate reviews, I should say, where we talk about that. And on Thursdays, we have a thing where I talk about changing our mind, and I kind of give my ideas, and we look at a book on changing our mind. And also, I give the opportunity for you to call in. So if you want to talk to me about changing your mind, or you want to argue about something and try to change my mind, you can. I'm a little bit more pro-Israel, so maybe I could find someone that wants to argue with me and try to change my mind to be a little more on the Palestinian side. You can do that as well. But it's all about learning about how to change our mind. So Max has joined me a couple times, so that's been fun. We had a couple callers in today, and it was a good time. So Thursdays at lunch, I know a lot of people are at work or whatnot, but if you're free, come join.
If you're free, join Dr. J. And you, Isa, you tell us about your show.
Well, my show is called Read and Reflect. So we're reviewing books, and right now we're reading and reflecting on the Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie. So we've read the first chapter, and we're on to the second chapter.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing it tomorrow, I think, around like 11:30. So we'll have
All right. We'll
video.
have that stream up for you in no time. Catherine MC asked, can you recommend a Yerba brand? And I told her Canarias. You can get that on Amazon, probably. It will be on the more expensive side because you're in Europe, if I'm not misremembering. But to try it, you can try that. And then if it's expensive on Amazon, try to find people from Argentina or Uruguay. Usually you will see Argentinian barbecue or Uruguayan barbecue places. And if they're run by Uruguayans, you can ask them where they get theirs, because chances are more likely than not that if they are in another country, they figured out a hookup to get cheap yerba, because we cannot survive without it. It's like our fuel. So if you see Uruguayans, there's probably yerba around, or we don't settle in that place otherwise. That sounds so stupid, but it is so true. David said that my quote from my friend, one of my best buddies in the whole world, Mr. Lord and Savior of Flat Earth Witted, probably stole that quote from Matt Dillahunty. Thank you for that. Aldebaran says, like FTFE debate yesterday about evolution, and his opponent bring up the Big Bang, politics, MC Toon, and MC Toon's religious beliefs. Yeah, he wanted to talk about everything except evolution. And David also says, your appearance in TFE earlier, just loved your appearance in TFE earlier, just a few good questions and done. Yeah, people were taking so long, and I'll tell you in a little secret. I was actually working, so I don't know. I kind of took a little short break, went there, but it was office time, so I didn't want to take super long. And with that, thank you, Dr. J, Isa. It's always a pleasure. Tomorrow we'll meet back again. The stream for that is on. Make sure to click the notification button. We're going to go 1 hour tomorrow. And we'll see you then. Make sure to do the social thing is like, share, subscribe. Send this to a friend. Send this to your significant other. Go to the corner. Yes, the corner of your seat. And just subscribe to Sharamate Talks. And that way we can share the love for the channel. One final message. David says, Dr. J, classy as always. Oh, sorry. You can make it with a tea leaf strainer, yes. And we'll see you, peeps. Thank you so much. Take care.